to the PO3 Podcast, featuring Jonathan Tovar, A.K.A. the Brownsville YETI, and Marx, the Sonic King. The PO3 Podcast.
Welcome back.
So we're starting already?
Welcome back to the PO3 Podcast. My name is Marx, A.K.A. the Sonic King, A.K.A. the Red Bull King.
Oh,
I'm seated here today with
just
Jonathan
John.
Tovar, A.K.A.
The Brownsville YETI, a.k.a. the Michigan Mauler,
There you go.
a.k.a. the Albuquerque Animal.
The Albuquerque ass clown guy. What's up, man?
What's going on, buddy?
Okay, I'm hot.
Yeah, you are.
I'm taking this off. I thought it was going to be colder today.
Actually, I drove with the windows down the whole way here.
Did you really?
Yo, Then I hit a bee, and like he was dying. He
A
was
hive?
No, not a whole hive, just the one guy.
Oh,
And
okay.
He was like dying on my beanie in the center console, so I had to like flick him out.
I hate that shit. I remember one
I
time
felt bad.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was like, oh, poor little bastard was just trying to make his way home, and here I come, just
So, what's up, man? Haven't
Not
seen
much.
you in a couple weeks, right?
yeah. This will be the second week. Yeah, 2 weeks, 14 days.
This is a last minute podcast. So, whatever's going on up here, you're going to find out right now.
Oh shit! Well, I do got some things I want to discuss.
Go for it.
Mental health related, so to kind of hit our roots here.
There we
Since- First, I'd like to start off though with this whole Joe Rogan shit that's going on. Have you heard much about it?
go. Yeah, apparently Neil Young took down his music or something like that because
Yeah,
he doesn't agree with what is it, Joe Rogan just in general or what?
It was a podcast that I want to say. I'm sure I can get his first name. 1 second. Dr. Malone, Robert Malone. Joe Rogan had him on, and I guess he was the inventor of the mRNA technology that they're using for the vaccine.
Okay, yeah. So apparently Joe had some doctors on that weren't doctors, apparently, and because I guess I've been hearing some stuff about that too. Is that he's been having people on that aren't technically doctors.
No, but Dr. Malone is a doctor. and
But I
he's
heard
the
that was part of the pushback, though.
Oh, I haven't heard that particular argument. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm sure it's out there.
So
you know what I'm saying?
false information
Is what they're speculating
accusing
or
him with,
accusing.
right?
Thank you, accusing him of, yes. But Dr. Malone, I mean, he's a doctor. I mean, I'm not sure like he's a MD, but he's like
So leave him alone.
he's a PhD. You know, and he's the inventor of the technology they use to make the vaccines.
Okay.
So that's why it's like it's not like I'm talking to a doctor that that is irrelevant to the topic. Like this guy's the effing creator, right?
Yeah.
And so before I saw the Joe Rogan podcast I actually haven't seen the Joe Rogan podcast with this guy, but I seen this guy before on a podcast I do follow. I always reference it here, the PBD podcast, Patrick David's podcast. During the podcast, he was like, "Hey, you guys text this number so we can, I'm assuming, get you a copy of this podcast because we anticipate it being taken down because they took this guy off of Twitter, they took him off of every platform he has."
Joe Rogan?
No, the Dr. Malone,
Oh, sorry.
right? Patrick David had him on his podcast, and that's the one I was watching before I heard about the Joe Rogan one. I got about halfway through. It was about I want to say almost 2.5, 3 hour podcast. I got about halfway through it. I come back the next day to finish it. It's taken off of YouTube. Right. And I started watching this one maybe like 12 hours after it, because they do their podcast live. So after they streamed it, I watched it about 12 hours after that. And within another 12 hours of that, it was gone.
Yeah.
And so the guy, Patrick David, was asking him, like, so what makes you the creator? You know, like to make him stand on his box, he's like, well, I have like 10 patents.
Oh, yeah. Something about patents. He's got a bunch of patents out there, right?
Yeah, for the technology they're using to create the vaccines that they're mandating now. And so he was coming out with
Not just one, but 10.
Yeah, so I mean, this guy, he's like, that's why I'm the creator. Like,
Having a
he's
patent
like,
is a big deal.
Yeah.
If you don't know, like it's a huge deal.
Mhm.
That means you are the proprietor
Yep.
and the inventor of something completely original
and
that no one else thought of.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure there's other people associated
Parallel
with
thinking, yeah, but he was the one that patented it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he didn't do all this alone, but his name's on those patents that they're using for these vaccines. And he's like, you can look them up on I'm sure there's a patent office somewhere we can search and see who does what, and I'm sure his name will come up. He goes, and that's why I say I'm the inventor of the mRNA technology. He's like, I'm not the inventor of mRNA. That's, nature does that. But the technology that we use for it, I created that, or was we'll say the majority creator of it. You know what I'm saying? And so he has those titles under his name. I mean, that sounds like if anyone we should be listening to is the guy that fucking created the trend.
Yeah.
The stuff that we're using. And he was basically coming out saying they're doing things wrong. But he's like, I'm not anti-vax. He's like, I had COVID. I almost died. And I'm vaccinated. But I don't like the way that they're pushing it. And so Joe Rogan had this guy on his podcast. And they were talking about it. And since Spotify is based out of, I want to say, Sweden, all the censorship stuff that they have here doesn't apply. So that's why they were catching so much flack. That's why Neil Young was like, okay, well, since they're not obligated to remove stuff that's labeled as misinformation, then I'll give them an ultimatum. They have to take my music out if they don't get rid of Joe Rogan, which clearly Neil Young's gone. And I've also heard since then there's a bunch of other artists. They name like a guitar. You know who Pearl Jam is?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think their guitarist said that he wants their music pulled off and a bunch of other stuff, but confirmed. They're going. Neil Young's gone. Their evaluation money wise was like $64 billion like 12 months ago. Now it's like at 32. They've lost like $24 billion in
to this issue.
Yeah,
and here's the thing though. But if Joe leaves, and then that's really gonna be it. I know those people will probably come back, but also they don't realize how huge this guy is. Like he has so many friends and connections that are willing to fight for him. And I'm already starting to see videos of people coming out and standing up on his behalf.
Yeah, man, it's great to see people actually doing that, especially in the climate that we find ourselves seated in. And what's interesting is on the way here, I was listening to a podcast with that guy, Patrick Bet-David, and he just, I think we mentioned on one of the previous podcasts, I don't know if it's the one that made it to YouTube or not, but how we're going to see Jordan Peterson in April.
I don't think I put that one.
Okay, so him and I are going to go see Jordan Peterson in April here in Fresno. He's already on his tour. And I guess he's in Florida where Patrick Bet-David lives and hosts his podcast. So they just released this one today. And they brought up the whole Joe Rogan thing because Jordan Peterson has been on Joe Rogan's show for like 4 or 5 times. And he just recently did not text you about it, like 2 weeks ago? So, he's still active. And he's very much in Jordan Peterson's that's probably
social circle.
Exactly. Let me mute this real quick.
Oh, you're good, bro.
So, anywho, so he asks that. He's like, well, what do you think this stands for Joe Rogan? He's like, because these people, they're very money oriented. It's $24 billion isn't like losing $1,000 to these guys. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And
billion.
So $1 billion. They lost 24 times that. You know what I'm saying? In 12 months. Since Joe
that's
Rogan,
like if Jay-Z lost his money 24 times.
Yeah. So Jordan Peterson was like, so they're thinking like from a business standpoint, how is this going to shape up for Joe Rogan? Because are they going to start telling him like, hey, dude, you can't be you're going to have to like talk to us about who you're going to interview. I don't know what his contract says, but
yeah.
I'm assuming he has free reign over his show.
Mm-hmm.
And now
that was part of the contract, actually.
Was it? Okay.
Apparently, that was a big part of it. It's like, hey, look, I literally don't want to change anything. I want all the creative control on here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that bypasses any of the censorship, but apparently his contract written in it said he could say whatever he wants to say and have on whoever he wants to say.
Maybe they might have meetings with him now. Like,
they might revise that, though.
They might try to, okay? And so Jordan Peterson was like, nah. He's like, that would be the stupidest thing that they can do. And he's like, well, we see that, but I mean, we're talking about $24 billion here, and that's just what they've lost, not what they might continue to lose. He goes, look, right now what's happening with, he called it legacy media, like CNN and, NBC, Fox, all these people. He's like, they're panicking because they're losing their viewership.
Yeah.
They're going to people like Joe Rogan to get their information because it's unfiltered, it's unbiased.
Which was the whole goddamn point of the podcast.
The whole point of it, right? And so the CNN's talking about all this kind of stuff, how Joe Rogan's spreading misinformation. So he's saying it's like their last ditch attempts to like claw their way or bring him down. he goes, what's going to happen is after, he's like, I guarantee you, and then I think he said Joe Rogan averages about 11 million views per show, like I guess when it's live or however it gets released, right?
This was one of the reasons, though, that he moved over from YouTube, because they had been trying to do this and take him down, like you just mentioned, since the YouTube days, since he came from YouTube. That was a big part of the reason why he switched as well, is because he realized the direction that YouTube was headed was more censorship based and more, PG. You know what I mean? So he started seeing the walls closing in as far as what he was able to say and the opinions he was able eventually be able to not put out there, his original thoughts and the guests. And
so he got
it was already catching
early, huh?
It was already catching flack for it, and now we're seeing the same thing happen.
Yeah, and see
with Spotify.
The good thing, I think the CEO, his name is something Eck is his last name. Can't remember his first name.
Home is his first name.
Homek?
Homek.
Oh, so, it was Joseph. Anyway, he was saying something to the effect of hey, the fact that Spotify is based out of Sweden, the misinformation crap that we deal with here in the States doesn't apply.
So it doesn't apply over there.
Yeah, because they're based out of Sweden.
But so there's no censorship.
So they don't fall under the same guidelines that they're trying to impose for misinformation and taking things down. Because
it is different everywhere. It's different, in Canada. It's different, like you just mentioned over there in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
All the censorship is different, the guidelines. And
and I guess there they don't have any.
Yeah.
But
so
now
you
they're
can just
catching a
say
bunch
whatever you want. So everything they get over there is completely unfiltered.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so, or maybe not unfiltered, but there's not going to be someone fact checking everything that you say to get your video taken down.
Or flag it, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So they were saying that was a good thing 2 weeks ago that they're over there, but now they're how much of this is Spotify going to be willing to withstand when they just lost 24?
What's the number? What's the number that they're going to have to get to in order for them to release Joe Rogan? Because do you think that he got a lump sum in that contract? Because apparently it's in the hundreds of millions.
Yeah, I think.
Or are they doing it in incremental checks?
I don't know the details on that.
You know how NFL players and stuff get signing bonuses.
Signing bonuses, then they have to they have to hit certain numbers when they're playing to get these bonuses and things of that nature. I'm not sure. I'm sure he probably got a nice chunk up front.
Oh, and think about it too. He's probably got the best of lawyers in the entire world. So
yeah,
of course he had them read that over a million times before anything happened, just in case he had to jump ship. That way he doesn't lose money.
So here's the thing though, Jordan Peterson brought up. He goes, look, so this is the legacy media's they're clawing their way out of the slums. They're trying to bring him down any way they can. This is their last ditch attempt. He goes, what you're gonna find, he's like, I see no reason shy of the assassination of Joe Rogan that he's not going to reach 20 million views per episode in a year. And he goes, so what I'm anticipating is when this all blows over, he goes, it's no different than waiting when you're stranded in the desert. Sometimes you just got to wait it out. He goes, but it's hard to do when you're stuck in the heat. He goes, I've seen this happen 50 times. He goes, what's going to happen is they just got to wait it out, buckle down. He goes, and then when CNN gets half their viewership cut to this, Joe Rogan's going to find himself doubling. He goes, it would be in their best interest to not release Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And if they do end up severing ties with him for whatever reason, he's going to have no shortage of people trying to get him.
Yeah, I don't know, but he still has his fan base. So either way, he's going to make it happen.
Yeah.
The dude has enough money to start his own YouTube.
Yeah, so that guy,
He's
Patrick
gonna get
David, right? He's a businessman. He goes, if he were to team up with Elon Musk, and he names some other dude, he's and get themselves a team.
He's going to be a free agent, bro. Anybody could pick him up. Just itching at that opportunity to pick Joe Rogan
So what
up.
they're saying is, so Jordan Peterson goes, I truly believe Joe Rogan's uncancelable.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't, what this man has been able to do in the course of the last 5 years where he's really taken off, it's unrivaled, never been done before, and he's one of a kind. He's like, so if anyone's going to be able to come through this out the other end, it's going to be him. And I thought that was interesting, and I think it's interesting because here, granted, our viewership is, what they get in a second, we get in a year. It still affects us because we're out here, trying to provide information to people. And if someone were to watch it and flag it as misinformation, our stuff gets taken down.
It hurts us even more.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I want to bring it up and get your thoughts on it because, again, we're not to their caliber, but still, it's still the fact that we're out here trying to give information to people, whether it be mental health related or some type of finance when I get on my little rants, or yoders and smokers and stuff. But the fact is we're putting information out there. And if you say something that isn't liked by somebody, it's really easy to get that stuff taken off.
Yeah, I don't agree with it. Like, I think there's definitely an extent, right? And a certain degree to which we need to fact check certain things, just because people, that's why you read on certain labels on like the Lysol bottle, don't drink it. Why? Because some idiot went and drank it before. So there are things that you do have to state before you put information out there, to be careful, just because there are people that are very impressionable. And I know that's not our responsibility to make sure that, we're not there to hold their hands, but still, this is the real world that we live in. People are stupid that way. And a lot of the times people think just because they go out and play a video game, they're going to go kill everybody in the streets, you know what I mean? Or like Call of Duty or something like that. But I think there's an extent. Like, if it's something as serious as like weapons or something like that, you know what I mean? Then there should definitely be some type of censorship and like just some type of warning before you put the content out there. Just saying like,
warning,
look,
but
this is not for...
Here's where if
don't try this at home.
So I hope this doesn't contradict what you're saying, because I think I understand what you're saying.
Well, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but like,
but
I'm just saying,
my thing
I
don't think
there
should be any form of censorship, because anybody should be able to say what they want as long as you're not calling upon an act of violence.
I think so too.
Or you're trying to create hysteria. You know what I'm saying? Because look at how many times we've went back and forth during this pandemic with the government. Don't do this. It's gonna create X. And then it comes out a month later, oh, we were wrong on that. So is that misinformation they gave us to begin with?
It was, yeah.
Or is
by definition.
Or was it that was the information we had at the time, and now we've since learned, and we're going to put our best foot forward and trying to go on and give
Correct
you...
it.
You know what I'm saying? So like things change. You know what I'm saying? It's like let's say we say something today, and then 2 years on the road, what we said now turns out to be completely false. Should we get hung out and dried for that? I don't think so, because we're not doing it, at least for us, and I'm sure this goes for the majority of, like we'll say Joe Rogan, he's not putting stuff out there to be deceitful.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people, they blur the lines, is, oh, Joe Rogan's out here to be deceitful and lie to people to get them to do what he wants. Like, no, he's just giving his opinion and his information.
Yeah, his biggest message was only speak on what you see. That was his biggest message. Just tell how you see it.
There you go.
That was it. That's what he wanted to convey while podcasting and putting his opinion out there. It was just like, I'm only telling you what I see.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, unless you're intentionally going out there to deceive people, and alter their perception with alternative motives.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Us discussing stuff like this, I'm just giving my opinion. You might disagree with that opinion, and that's perfectly fine. And anyone that watches this can also disagree or agree with our opinions. But that's all they are, is opinions. Or at least we're trying to remain factual when we have the data to support it.
I'm not very book smart when it comes to stuff like this in general, and I'll be the first one to tell you that. Like, I'm willing to learn about things like this, but if I could just put it in the most simplest of terms and words that I can possibly convey to you, is that I don't think that there should be any type of censorship either. But like I said, I think with certain things, there should at least be a warning, saying that, hey, we're saying this, and it's not necessarily a fact, but it is my opinion, and I'm going to give you my message on that, or give you my opinion on that.
I guess will be a topic that we don't agree on,
but I think that's as far as it should go.
I think that's a step too far, personally, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really think that, you should be able to look at a video, no matter what it is, and determine whether or not that you agree or disagree with it. I shouldn't have to give you a warning saying this is my opinion, because clearly it's going to be my opinion. And if I bring out some statistics or I reference something that's supporting my claim, go fact check the thing. One thing that I love about, I don't know if it was Steven Crowder, is that he was the guy that they made memes of, like something changed my mind. He was the guy with that banner.
Yeah.
One thing that he would do is when he went out to these little, debates, impromptu debates, is the best way I can describe it. He had his facts listed in a binder here. And then he would, on the screen, when he would edit the video, put the link to the thing. So hey, I'm not making this up. This is the source that I got my information from. You can take that up with them. You know what I'm saying? So that's, like people should go as far as that, but I feel like you should be able just to go research that kind of stuff yourself. Like, hey, it doesn't make sense. Let me look it up. Oh, damn, it's true or not true. Or you have conflicting, pieces of information.
So to you, is that contradict the fact that they're doing stuff like this now and you're starting to see a lot more censorship? Is that, and I know that they're controlled by private companies, right? So they set the rules, but
see, and that's where things get interesting for me.
I was going to say, but do you think that it's contradicting the First Amendment?
That's what I'm getting at, because I truly believe, and this is where it's complicated. I'm not saying I have the answer. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a
But
silver
it's
bullet.
your opinion again.
But yeah, it's my opinion, sure. The only way you can look at it. Because I don't think the government should be intrusive in any way. And if you're going to set up a company, whether it be YouTube, any major social media platform, you should be able to regulate it yourself. But I feel that it's disingenuous when these people only allow you to see the stuff they want you to see, that they deem as credible. You're a software engineer. What the hell do you know about politics? What the hell do you know about medicine? What the hell do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel, and I forgot who else said this, watching another podcast, and they mentioned this. He goes, they need to be able to regulate themselves in an efficient manner, because this is where it gets sticky. Does the government come in and say,
yeah, who's regulating the regulators?
You know what I'm saying? And so that's where it gets sticky, because I don't think the government should be in there telling people how they should run their businesses. But I feel as, these major social media platforms, especially the one that we're on now, I truly feel they have an obligation to try to remain impartial. As long as the content that people are putting out isn't
harmful.
And then harmful varies in degrees too.
Yeah, because somebody will go as far as to say that words are harmful to
exactly them. As long as the words that you put out in your message, your video, whatever, your posts isn't a call to action, like you're calling for harm on a group of people or a person, or you're trying to incite hysteria. Like you can't.
But again, that is also very subjective.
Well,
he provoked me.
Well, no. I'm saying stuff like you send out a fake text about a potential school shooting, or you say that there's a bomb somewhere. Like, that's going to create panic, hysteria. People can get hurt from that kind of stuff.
So what would a form of that be on a platform like a podcast on YouTube?
Well, what I'm saying is, I think those are the only things that they should be regulating. Yeah. Like, if we said something like that, then you by all means take it down.
I feel like that's what I meant to say.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
And I
just didn't know how to say it.
I feel like those are the only grounds where they should sit there and regulate what gets posted.
Yeah.
Because then
that's exactly what I meant to say. I just didn't know how to put it into words.
So, I'm glad I was able to, paint that for you. But yeah, man, that's
because I don't think there's anything wrong with people just giving their opinions.
No, and that's the issue that we're having, is if you're a person that doesn't like my opinion, you can sit there and flag it, and then it's going to cause them to look into it. And I don't know if it just takes one or if it takes multiple of the same type of flagging or reporting.
Or here's the thing:
content.
Unsubscribe.
Don't watch it.
Don't watch my shit.
That's pretty much what everyone that gets censorship is.
I like to say shit like that. Like, hey, if you don't like this content, don't sub. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's your choice.
To me, it's that simple. Yet we don't find ourselves.
But people
living
are just
in that world.
People are just so. It has to do with just like control. People want to be control freaks.
And dude, you know what's crazy? Because you mentioned that there's no way of me to look at it otherwise anymore.
And like we said, tribal before, they want to join a group.
Yeah, and
they want to get on one side of the fence. You know what I mean?
And so, in the podcast was mentioning on the way here, Jordan Peterson's something really cool. He's like, when people comes to voting and politics and stuff like that, there's naivety, being naive. And he goes, and then there's, what was the other one the word he used? It flees my mind. Cynical. He goes, and being cynical's more wise than being naive. He goes, but then there's one thing that we should all strive to be, and it was like
open-minded,
consciously trusting, or something like that.
Open-minded,
courageous, yeah, basically courageously trusting things that we said. He goes, and that's what we need to strive to be. He's like, because if you're cynical, you're gonna pick your side, and you're only gonna stay on that side.
Yeah,
versus being courageously trusting, where you're taking in all this stuff and you're choosing to believe. You know what I'm saying?
And that was the thing that I forget who was mentioning it, but they were saying that was the great thing about Joe. When he's on the podcast, he's very open to the idea of changing his mind. When a guest is on, he'll
absolutely
he'll argue his point, but also he invites you to change his mind. Kind of how
Yeah.
how great science moves forward.
That's the only way science progresses. They get to a conclusion,
Yeah.
and then this is what we found, and then someone comes along and does that same experiment or does something further. Nope, you were wrong. Oh crap, I was wrong. I guess we're going with what you had to say. That's how science progresses. You know what I'm saying? It's everyone's fact checking each other, but they're doing it through science. They're doing it through the scientific method. They have a hypothesis. They do their experiment. They get a result. Someone else comes and does it. They get a slightly different result. They compare. Oh crap, mine was less true than yours is. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. And one thing you said about Joe that I really, really appreciate is you said he's open to having his mind changed. One thing I really enjoy watching on his show is even if he disagrees with you and you might be the expert in this particular field, he's going to push back.
Yeah.
He's going to make you stand on your claims. And I really appreciate that.
Well, I think it's a good idea to do that because you're not a textbook expert at it, you might have something to offer.
Yeah. But I like it because he's not a parrot.
Yeah. No, yeah. Everybody hates a yes man.
He just doesn't, because you're so-and-so, I got to agree with you. Like, no, I don't agree with that. And he'll sit there and push back. And I respect that a lot. And mind you, politically speaking, him and I on opposite ends of the aisle.
So you'd be considered what, more left?
More right.
More right, sorry?
Yeah. And he's very open about that. But I respect everything that this guy does. And I like the content he puts out there.
Yeah.
And even that means me being on the opposite end of the aisle, I still appreciate what he does. And I think that's what people should strive to do when it comes to their media outlets and their sources.
He even says himself too, though, like he's like more in the middle. Like he says, I'm more of a leftist, but I have plenty of things on the right that I agree with.
Yeah. And I think that's,
So what does that make
I would
me?
say, okay, I'm on the right. I would say I'm on the right side of the middle.
Yeah.
I would like
He's
to.
leaning more
I would like to be like a libertarian.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where you're just kind of the middle and you're going to take the bulls to both sides. There's things that I tend to agree with more on the right side, but I'm still like, I'm center right is how I would describe it. You know what I'm saying? But then, that I think that just comes with trying to remain open-minded and make decisions based off of facts.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted your thoughts on that, man. And
well, you kind of took the words out of my mouth with that. I didn't know how to say it, but it's like I don't think that they should be censoring anything that we're putting out there on these platforms. You know what I mean? I think it's important to truly put out what you're feeling. Truly like inside. What are your true views on the world and on certain opinions? Like, what are they really? Like I said, like if I was just putting out content for people to agree with me, I feel like people would be able to smell that and see right through that, and it would be really easy for people to label me as a fake, you know what I mean, and as a parrot, like you were saying, because they can tell that I'm only creating a narrative that suits people that I want to appeal to. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to target any demographic really. You know how like marketing companies have a certain demographic that they want to target in specific. It's like I feel like if you're doing that as a podcast creator or a content creator in general, you're fishing. You're reaching for people to like you and you want confirmation versus really just putting out your true opinion, whether or not you're insecure about it or if you care about who's going to disagree with it in the first place. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times when I'm doing vlogs or something like that, or I'm trying to say what I'm going to say on here, I try to make sure that what I'm saying is really how I feel. You know what I mean? And a lot of times I'll be in front of the camera. I'll cut the camera on and I'll start recording a vlog. And I'll catch myself like almost putting on an act. And then I'll cut myself. I'll be like, wait, hold up. Like this is some fake ass bullshit like right now. I need to like really, really check myself and like put it out there as best as I can how I'm truly feeling inside. So that's when my tone changes. I'm just like
remaining authentic.
I can't be like this, guys. And I'll fucking welcome back to I'm like, here's another vlog. And I'm fucking depressed. You know what I mean? But it's real though. But I feel like people could see right through that when you're not being real. And that's part of what I don't like about the censorship, because it's like shoving more fake shit down your throat. Like they only want to give you the sugar-coated version of everything. It's like
I believe you're giving them more credit than they're due with the sugar-coated version. I think it's more, we're going to give you what we want you to see.
It's like a fantasy that they want us to believe is out there, and it's something that's completely unreal. You know what I mean? Like Christmas music, for example. You know, when the holidays roll around, you get this cheerful Christmas music, and it's so it's like cheerful, and it's supposed to put you in the spirit. But in reality, you go to the store and everybody's fighting over fucking 60-inch screen TVs and robbing each other, and you know,
I got you.
it's the complete opposite of what they were trying to say the holidays actually are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's going off on a rant, but I feel like it has something to do with it. Like it's fake. You know what I mean? Why don't show me a commercial that shows how that's why I said Jingle All the Way is like the best way to describe how Christmas actually is.
Oh, you know what? That's actually very true. Yeah.
It's like, why don't you make some commercials about that shit? Like, or if you see commercials about McDonald's, like you're always seeing commercials about fast food.
Mm-hmm.
When do you ever, other than like a private company trying to promote their like meal prep company, do you see healthy meals being promoted? When do you ever see that?
You don't. And I want to use that as a segue into the mental health thing I wanted to discuss. Sorry to cut you off there, but I think it was a perfect segue because it talks about advertising, right? And so the person I'm bringing up here, his name is Johan Hari. I believe I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. The podcast I found him on labeled him as a mental health expert. So I thought it was fitting for, our podcast. This guy has traveled the world. Okay. He's spoke with over 200 leading scientists in the specific field of tension and focus.
Mm-hmm. Retention?
Attention.
Oh, attention.
Attention and focus. And in his book is called, I have it written down here somewhere.
Which sounds like it's right up my alley because I have ADD.
It's interesting, man, for sure. Why you can't pay attention, or the book is called Stolen Focused, Why You Can't Pay Attention and How to Think Deeply Again.
Yeah.
Right. And he identifies 12 factors, among a lot of others, that play into this. And
it's funny that you say how, because a lot of people think it's just easy to get in depth on anything.
Oh, dude, believe me, this guy was blowing my mind.
Because when you're distracted, that's damn near impossible.
You're hitting some nails on the head and you have no idea.
Do you have the same problem?
Yeah, it's hard to think when your attention's elsewhere, when you're being distracted.
I'll put it this way. Whenever I'm trying to be creative with anything, I'll find myself struggling to get to that point where, all right, the switch is flipped now. Why? Because there's 10 other things going on that are grabbing my attention.
Mm-hmm. And it goes perfectly.
And it almost creates laziness.
Dude, so this is what he says about what you just said. He goes, basically anything that you've accomplished that you're proud of in your life required great amount of attention and focus. And so think about it, like for you and your creative abilities, making music and, now creating this podcast, how much time and effort goes in, how much focus do you have to accomplish that?
Well, they say with anything that's creative or any creative venture or endeavor that you want to take on, they call it I want to say the 100 hours or something like that. It's something along those lines. It's like a number of hours that you have to put in order to say that you're actually doing what you want to be doing creatively. And it's something like 100 hours. And I mentioned one time that I put in double that shit, triple that shit, into my ventures, whatever it was, creatively.
Yeah, man. I mean,
you were saying how much time that you actually have to put into whatever it is.
And then that's the thing though, but that requires immense
attention
amount and focus.
Yeah.
And he said something interesting here to me, man. He said on average, if you're like, let's say you were making a song.
Yeah. I'll say video. Fuck music.
Okay. Fuck music. We'll go with video. And say you're editing on one of our podcasts or one of your vlogs. On average, it takes a person 23 minutes to reset once they're interrupted back into the state of focus that they were in before the interruption took place.
Dude, I hate this shit because when I'm trying to edit something and something throws me off, it kind of fucks up the whole thing. That's why I like to do it isolated when no one's around, when no one's here. Because if I got people distracting me and shit, it's just like that idea that I might have had. That's why I have to write shit down. That idea was like, oh, I was going to insert this clip right here, but I forgot about it because somebody, wanted my help with something or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy how quickly those thoughts will escape you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's gone forever if you don't hold on to that thought. That's why they say, hold that thought.
And see, what's crazy to me that you say that you just said yourself. It totally screws up your
Momentum.
mojo. It screws up your momentum, your mojo. And then when you put numbers next to it, 23 minutes to basically reset back to where you were before the interruption took place.
Now, granted, I'm pretty sure other people can get there a lot more quickly,
No,
but this is on average.
This is on average. This is an average, scale here. So obviously there are people that can do it way faster and then people that do it a lot slower than 23. But on average, it's about 23 minutes. That's an insane amount of time. And like, for instance, I guess my comparison to what you just stated, when I'm at work writing a report, when I have to put myself, because we have computers everywhere. If there's people around me, I'm going to be talking. I have to go find a computer where there's nobody else and just zone in. And then it sucks because I'm sitting there typing away, write my report, boom, 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 boom. And then something happens. And then just that train of thought just gets severed. Then when I'm able to return back to my computer to continue my report, I'm sitting there like, where the hell did I leave off? Because it was just flowing. And I wouldn't say for me it's 23 minutes, but it's damn near not 5 minutes or 2 minutes to get back into the swing of things. Is definitely a lot. It's definitely a lot longer than that. And when you start throwing these numbers around, it kind of puts things into perspective. And what's crazy is this guy, he interviewed this professor by the name of Dr. Earl Miller from MIT. So this guy's smart. He's teaching at MIT, right? Said the human brain can only focus on one, maybe two things at most, right? How many times do you hear people say I multitask?
I was gonna bring up the multitasking thing and how people like to brag about that shit.
And it's completely false.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's a damn doctor teaching this stuff. He's like, people are really good at juggling. You'll put some attention here, stop here, go back to this. He's like, but
I think it's a good tool to have in your arsenal to use when necessary. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you do need to multitask, but it shouldn't be for very long.
Well, yeah, but again, we're thinking of multitasking like the way a computer multitasks, where it's doing everything at 100%.
Yeah.
For everything that it's
but here's the thing with any multitasking, you're never going to be able to put 100% effort if you're multitasking into both avenues.
And that's his point. So for you to be effective, you need to try to stop multitasking and remain focused on the one task that you're doing. Hewlett Packard, right? The printer company. You've seen their printers everywhere. They've been around for ages. HP.
Yep.
Like the computers and stuff. So I don't know when this experiment was done, and I don't know how. I'm sure because it was a scientific thing done that I'm assuming, I don't know, a CEO wanted to get his workers to be more efficient and figure out how he can get more out of them. And so I'm sure this test was done on multiple scales. It just wasn't done the one time. But basically, he went to a scientist and said, "Hey, look, I'm assuming it was I need this. I need to get more out of my workers. How do I get them to produce more?" So the scientist came in and said, okay, cool, that's what I'm going to do. He got two groups of workers. One group, do your daily tasks, and we're going to make sure that you go uninterrupted. Okay. Second group, same deal, but we're going to be bombarding you with emails. We're going to be bombarding you with phone calls.
Yeah,
people
who's more
entering the office,
efficient,
right? So this, I don't know. They didn't describe how long this test went on for. If it was 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, a whole workday, whatever. Whenever this test concluded, they did an IQ test. This is where to me, things get interesting. He said the second group on average scored 10 IQ points lower than the group that had 0 interruptions. And so this guy, Johan, goes, let me put that into perspective for you. In this case, if the two of us were to smoke weed right now and get high as hell, on average, we'd only drop about 5 IQ points.
So it's actually, you'd actually be better off just fucking smoking weed, doing your job, than actually being bombarded by emails and stuff.
And all that all these different distractions. And to me, that was like so damn compelling. I was like, so here we think of people that, and the guy's like, look, I want to be clear. You probably shouldn't be doing either.
But here's what's worse.
But here's what's worse is you being interrupted. And he's like, now this is just obviously they did a work-related study. But to me, if you just applied that to life, if you have all these different distractions going on, how efficient are you really thinking through your whatever task you're handling, whether it be washing dishes, mowing the lawn, editing one of your vlogs or one of our podcasts? You know what I'm saying?
But isn't it insane how unideal the real work world actually is, and the expectations that they have of people going into it? Like, how inefficient is it actually when you apply the real data to real life scenarios? It's like They want you to go out there and be 110% while doing this, and that. And then a lot of times you don't even factor in, sometimes you're short staffed. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is that the case may be when you're at work. It's like, if you look at it from a data perspective, the efficiency of like most of these companies in which they're running is completely, like, it could be so much better. You know what I'm saying? If things were ran differently by what you just told me.
Dude, excellent point. And here's another statistic for you on the same topic. The average American office worker can only focus on one task on average for 3 minutes. And have you taken into consideration the 23 minutes on average it takes for you to get back to where you were prior to the interruption or distraction?
Well, a lot of the work though that they're like in like big executive offices that these people are doing, you ever heard the term busy work?
Yeah,
A lot of that is what these people are actually doing, which is insane. And also you factor in, all right, why do we have to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, or for a lot of people it's more than that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, again, going back to how inefficient is everything actually, like and unnecessary.
And but to me that was, I guess, if you want to view it from a side of exploitation, I can understand your argument. But to me, it was just like, hey, I'm trying to maximize my employees' proficiency while they're here. Let's cut down on the distractions.
But it's funny. Well, I agree on that. But like, they want that to happen with their employees, but they're not even looking at this data. They're thinking that throwing more stuff at them is going to make them an actual better employee.
Yeah.
But it's actually making them worse.
Making them worse. A lot worse. I mean, I don't know.
They're like, you need to learn this task, man. You need to focus more energy on this side, and you need to make sure that you're paying attention to what he's doing. Because if you learn this, and it's like, can I just focus on one thing?
There's a lot, dude. You couldn't have said it any better. Yeah. And to me, and again, just like, this all sounds like common sense, but when you break it, when you quantify and you give it numbers.
But I think most people know this shit. They just don't say nothing to because that's my boss. I'm not gonna push against his or her word.
No, yeah, I mean, understandably so. I mean, I'm not saying that this should be used as that as like a way to be insubordinate.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, it's funny to me how you pointed out how inefficient things are. But that's the norm.
Yeah. It's just what we've learned to adapt to.
And then to me, what makes it compelling is when you actually give it a number. Like, you were to say, like, hey, dude, I can't focus on multiple things at once. Like, I'm better if you're just being lazy. But then you break it down with numbers. You're like, damn, he's not just lazy. It's like, I'm actually overworking the hell out of him. Now I'm not getting things out of him because I'm giving him too much.
Now let's take a moment to thank all the teachers out there in America, because God knows it's hard enough to get an adult to concentrate on whatever it is the hell we need to concentrate on. Now, when you're a child and you're an adolescent in school and you're trying to get a kid that already has ADD, he's a kid and he's only worried about the girl that's sitting next to him because he wants to flirt with her or whatever his friend's doing in the chair to the left of him, trying to get that kid to pay attention to mathematics?
Yeah.
Bro, you might as well tell me to take that boulder and roll it up that Mount Everest. You know what I'm saying? It's damn near impossible. So the fact that these teachers are even making any kind of progress out there as far as like getting their kids to graduate and bumping those numbers up, right? Because it's like the stock market. It fluctuates per area and per school. It's like, all right, last year we had the X amount of students graduate. We need you guys to focus, and we want that number to go up.
I feel like you stole my notes. Because you're talking on like so. No, it's great. It's great. I'm just saying, like, because you're hitting so much shit.
But you know what I'm saying, though? It's like,
sorry, stuff, not shit.
The amount, I can say whatever you want. It was uncensored. The amount of pressure that they must feel, knowing, like, being in the trenches, that they're the ones teaching these kids. And I hate to rant, but like, it's an applicable subject to talk about. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
well, so that goes to what you're saying, bro.
Because this has to do directly with attention. It's like,
dude, you said,
how the hell does that happen?
You said kudos to them for having to try to maintain the attention of children.
It's like by design. They're not like, they're not, they're a sponge at that age, but they're not retaining much of what you're saying if they're not interested.
So this guy goes on to that too, bro. Here's another statistic for you. This is for college students, so I'm sure it's a lot lower for a child.
That's why they invented Adderall.
65 seconds is the average attention span of a college student.
And then you ever heard of cramming?
You?
No, have you ever heard the term? Everybody's heard cramming, right?
Yeah, yes, of course.
It's like, how the fuck are you supposed to cram all this information if you're only able to focus for 65 seconds? That's a minute and 5 seconds.
So it's interesting you mentioned that, because Johann goes on to describe how we're setting up our future generation for failure. And he goes into, in an innumerable amount of ways and describes it. But to touch on what you just said, he said, where's my notes? I'm
going to come up with a chant, bro.
Huh?
It's not me, ADD.
Okay, we'll talk about this real quick since we said that. I'll get back to that one here in a second. If for every one child that was diagnosed with an attention disorder 30 years ago, we're at 100 today. That's like 100%.
They're moving up, dramatically.
That's a massive number. And he was saying right here, bro. So you said, giving kids. He said school. One thing he said that I really thought was cool is he said something that Jordan Peterson always says. And he mentioned this Russian psychologist by the name of Dmitry Leontiev, I think his name is pronounced. And he says he laughs at Americans and the English when they say what they want out of life is happiness. And he goes, because in Russia, we say only kids are happy. He's like, when you're an adult, there's so many things pulling at you in different directions that you have no control over that. You might get some spurts of happiness here and there, but you really have no other control over it.
It's kind of sad, dude.
It's kind of cynical. He goes, but what gives you what you need is meaning in your life. Finding meaning.
But that will give you happiness, I think.
But he said, but that's like the bigger picture isn't happiness, it's meaning. And he goes, so when you apply that to kids in school, you're trying to teach them a bunch of useless shit they're never going to use. Of course they're not going to remember it. Of course their attention is going to be running wild because there's no meaning in it for them. Other than, here's a bunch of crap you got to memorize for a standardized test. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't teach them anything. It doesn't teach you. So he was saying school is a sham for kids today. One interesting statistic he put up, bro, and I'm talking about statistics, but to me the numbers are hard to argue. He said that, remember George Bush, George W? He passed No Child Left Behind. Within 4 years of that being passed, bro, 4 years, it was a crazy number. Let me try to find it real quick. I just had it. In 4 years, ADHD jumped up 24% because of that measure that George Bush passed, where we just got to get everybody through. In 4 years, 24%. That's a lot of kids getting diagnosed with ADHD.
I just picture Black Friday. Everybody's in line, and they're just trying to get everybody into the store. But there's no line formed. It's just a big ass crowd. Everybody's stepping over each other, and it's chaos. Just trying to cram everybody through the doors. It's like disaster.
Yeah. Think if I was going to teach you a subject about algebra.
Mm-hmm.
Do you give two shits about algebra? Honestly.
As a kid, no.
Now do you? I don't still.
I would like to know it.
Okay, what's a topic you care nothing about? Underwater basket weaving. I got it. Okay. So underwater basket weaving.
I was trying to think of a subject.
All right. Underwater basket weaving. I'm going to teach you all about it. You have zero cares. You have zero horses in that race. You're not going to care about it. You're just going to be counting down the time until I'm done talking. You're going to be watching your watch. You're going to be thinking about what you're going to do.
Tennis.
Okay, fine. Tennis. We'll use tennis. There's nothing in it for you. And I noticed this crazy because if you look at my transcripts from high school, I was less than a scholastic student.
God damn. I'm still trying to find mine so I can show you, but yeah. We'll go back to that.
When I went through my academy, everyone thought of me as a brainiac. If you talk to people at work, oh, he does really good in these settings. He's really good when it comes to school. Like, he's smart. You would look at my paperwork, you would have never drawn that conclusion. It's because I'm interested in what I'm being taught. There's meaning
and what
in
you're
it for me.
whatever you were speaking about, you were very interested in.
Exactly. So my point being is, like, if you just applied that to schools, I don't know what the answer to that problem is, but I can tell you that what we're doing isn't the solution.
No, yeah. I think the only way to change that is to simple. Just make them interested somehow. I don't know what, like you said, I don't know what the answer is to that or how to even go about it, but it's just, you have to make them interested in what we're teaching them and then connect some type of, like meaning to it and like incentive for them to want to learn the material. Because if you just tell me as a kid, don't do drugs because it's bad, that doesn't do anything for me. There's no experience tied to that. There's no actual feeling that I can put with that thought. You know what I'm saying? That goes with that thought. There's no feeling. I actually have to experience it in order for me to make my decision whether or not I want to use or not. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that is incredibly hard to do because it's hard to just tell you and provoke that feeling.
Yeah, I understand that, man. And I would say I'm rather unique in that regard because I try very hard to utilize someone's dare I say warning. We'll use drugs as an example. If like, well, or I don't know, we'll use underwater basket weaving again. Let's say you're the perfect underwater basket weaver, right? And you're telling me don't do this because you'll sever your finger. Yeah. I'm really gonna try hard to utilize your experience of having 9 fingers now as an example, not to do whatever you did. But
still, it's not the same as actually losing a finger.
No, I understand.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But for me, people hear the words a lot of the times and it doesn't mean anything until they go through it. Like some people have to play with fire to understand that playing with fire can burn you.
We talked about this on the last one, the vision. Some people lack the vision of that.
So for me, I really try hard to put myself in those situations so that I can understand that fire burns with you if you play with it.
But the huge problem is not everybody thinks that way in the majority of time. But honestly, dude, I feel like it's almost as if the way that we're teaching, not we as in me, but like the teachers and the way that they have designed it, I feel like it's almost backwards. And now tell me if you think this is like out there. But I feel like it's backwards. It's almost as if as their kids, the things that they should be learning have nothing, or the things that they are learning have nothing to do with real life situations. It's almost as if you want to teach them, you have to show them the real life first. And it's almost as like take your kid to work day. But like for every scenario that you could imagine, show your kids how to do the taxes. Actually, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like set them up to where they have to pay bills and put gas in their car and maintain this and eat right because, well, that's hard to do because they're kids. They're not going to get any weight. But stuff that has to do with real life situations, you know what I mean? And have them go through that first before you give them any kind of test. You know what I'm saying? That way, when they actually take the test, it's like, oh, I really remember that because it provokes that feeling of like, shit. You know what I'm saying?
Like, yeah, I agree. It's just like you did construction, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much learning did you do of that in school?
None.
Like, I mean, this is going to sound kind of stupid. I'm not trying to insult you in the process. But utilizing a ruler, you taught that in school.
Yeah, I did drafting.
But it's like, did you remember a lot of that when you got to construction? Or was it you doing the job of construction really solidified your understanding of what you had during drafting?
Well, I remembered a little bit of it, but more what solidified and pretty much instilled that into me to like learn and not forget how to use the tape measure was actually being on the job.
Yeah, thank you. Because to me, that's the same.
Yeah.
You know, when I did my little bit of construction,
that's why I said it's backwards.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm just trying to draw a point though, because to me, it's just like we should be doing that. You know, and I understand you can't do it all, and like, you know, obviously kids need to learn their basic arithmetic. You need to learn how to add numbers together. You need to learn how to read. You need to learn how to do all this stuff. I think history is a big important one because if you're going to become someone of a political figure or you're making decisions for people, history has taught us a lot, and there's lessons to be learned from those historical events. But it's like I learned geometry. I tried to learn like geometry, bro. I'm sure in some ways, I guess I kind of use it on the outside, but I'm only going to use it when the situation applies and if it's very specific. Like,
well, if you're doing crop circles or something.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but my point being is like your experiences in life are going to draw you to know whatever it is they were trying to teach you that we thought was useless.
It's not ever going to apply unless you actually go through it and experience it.
You mentioned earlier about numbers, or excuse me, like advertisers.
Yeah.
Dude, when I heard this about, you know, I mean, it's stuff that we already know, but it's just like when you hear it in a different way, to me, it just hit different. When you get onto Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever the major social media source is, up until yesterday, I thought of myself as a consumer. I thought of myself as as the consumer in the equation. We're not the consumers. We're very much the product. And you said something earlier about advertisers.
Oh, how they obey,
Well, no,
or how the
advertisers. So Facebook, right? You have all these algorithms. And it's funny how you'll search something on Google and then 4 minutes later on Facebook and you see that thing 100 times. What they do is they sell your information to advertisers. And it's like, hey, advertiser, you want to advertise Red Bull? You could put a commercial out and it'll hit people that like your stuff or interested in your product. Or I can guarantee you, I will market your product to the specific people that desire the specific product that
your
you have.
demographic.
And that's what they do. And so another algorithm they have, or I'm sure there's probably a lot, but one of them is they're going to keep your feed filled with shit that you are interested in to keep you on there longer. Again, I don't think it's rocket science. I think we've all kind of figured that out. But that's their sole purpose, is to keep you, because you're a revenue stream as soon as you get on.
Yeah, because you can change your algorithm, like on YouTube or Instagram, whatever it is. Like me, super into lifting and boxing. If I get on YouTube or on Instagram and I don't even have to look for it, it's just filled with boxing and weightlifting. And I didn't even have to actively do anything about it to like tweak it to my liking. It did it for me. It was like AI. It knew exactly what I wanted it, and it did it for me.
Now, this guy's not saying that you should be against. There's great things in everything. You know what I'm saying? And he had really good things to say about Facebook. He's just like, I just feel that they could change their model, because right now, basically, they're like the robots in Matrix, and we're the damn people in the Matrix, and they're using us for batteries. They're giving us a false sense of reality, almost. And they're exploiting us for that. But yet we think, I would say in aggregate, the majority of us believe that we're the consumer when we're on Facebook. But we're actually the product that's being sold to advertisers, because that's where they're getting their money from, because you don't pay for Facebook.
No, yeah, they're profiting off of our interests.
Yeah, and I think it's like, but it's all designed to keep you on there longer, therefore keeping you more distracted.
Well, it's just like
throughout your day.
It's like any store. It's designed to keep you coming back. The more time you spend there, the more money you're spending there.
No, I'm not arguing the practice. What I'm saying though is just, I think it's just a source of distraction that leads to all the stuff we've already discussed, where you're trying to remain focused. Like this guy with Johan, he said, I think he said it was Spokane. I think Spokane's like in Connecticut or Maine or Massachusetts. I don't know, maybe somewhere. I think it's somewhere on the East Coast. I could be mistaken. And he said that he was basically there in like seclusion. He just put himself there for 3 months and devoid of all online interaction.
Just sensory deprivation?
Basically, just living his life, right? Said he woke up one morning about a month into that and said he felt weird. Like he couldn't put his finger on it. He thought about it more and more. This is the first time that I can remember that I've woken up and I wasn't tired.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I actually slept and I woke up refreshed.
So implying that like all these distractions are actually physically draining.
Physically draining. So here,
mentally draining.
Where was it? Okay, we often hear the term of half asleep, right? It's real. This guy by the name of Dr. Charles Seisler did a study where he was able to track a person's eyes, and they had him hooked up to some type of brain scan. So they were able to see what your brain was doing while you were looking at what you were looking at.
It emulates that. Holy shit.
Right? Followed your eyes, so you were awake, you were moving. Parts of the brain were asleep.
But it emulates you actually being asleep, half asleep.
Yeah, so he was like half asleep's true. Like people are, where's the number? 40% of Americans are sleep deprived.
Well, you included.
I'm one of them. That's why it was speaking to me. 15% of Americans report waking up refreshed.
Mm-hmm.
So 40% of all Americans, again, this is an average, they are sleep deprived. They're not getting nearly enough sleep as they need. And then of the whole number, only 15% say they wake up feeling refreshed.
Now, was this, when they did that study, was this during like ongoing distractions, like them being on their phone?
I don't know if that was, I think it was just like, hey, we're gonna do a test. You're gonna sleep and tell me how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking someone out. I'm assuming he didn't get into detail what the parameters were set for this particular experiment.
But distraction had something to do with that part of their brain.
Yeah, because he was talking about how people will be on their phone for 4 hours. They've been in bed and then they eventually fall asleep and they get 3 or 4 hours of sleep before they're starting with their day.
Yeah.
You know, he mentioned this other lady, I forgot her name, but she said your brain heals and cleanses itself when you sleep. He said that it was called, what was it called? Metabolic waste. And if you never sleep, that waste never gets washed away. He said something about like some cerebral fluid, like comes out with the brain and basically washes it down.
Your brain has its own kidney.
Basically, right? But if you don't sleep, you never go through that.
It never gets filtered.
He says people that are sleep deprived and have these sleep disorders and such, I think he gave a percentage, I forgot to write it down, more likely for developing dementia or Alzheimer's. And there's there's direct studies supporting that claim. It's not like, so it's like.
That's one of the biggest parts of the book that I'm reading is making sure that you're getting healthy sleep, because at a certain age, that's when your chances of developing dementia dramatically skyrocket.
So perfect. I mean, it's not perfect, but I'm saying like Dr. Almond is also saying similar things that this guy's saying. So it's not like, I know you hold Dr. Almond's opinions very, very high. And so for me, it's just like, he's saying that this guy's saying similar stuff. There's got to be some continuity between that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I hold any opinions high that have to do with take care of your brain and take care of yourself. That way you can lessen the likeliness that you're going to develop whatever.
Yeah, no, please don't take what I'm saying as you don't give a shit about this. I'm just saying like there's continuity in that.
No, I know. I'm just saying in general. I think anybody that's preaching this type of stuff, there's definitely a lot to it.
He said the Harvard Medical School said if you stayed up for 19 hours, it's about the same equivalent as being legally drunk.
Yeah.
As far as your ability to remember or pay attention to stuff.
You're basically useless if you're just tired all the time. Like cognitively, it's just not there.
It's crazy, bro. Like,
but isn't it funny like how people just completely neglect it and often take pride in not sleeping as much?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I would say I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I can get a lot done with no sleep and it's not healthy.
Which is cool if you need to do it, but it's like you're not performing at optimal level. And
I was talking to my girlfriend about this. One of the things I cherish most about myself is my brain.
Me too.
And I'm doing, according to this, a lot I'm not maximizing my efficiency.
That's why when you told me like you're always sleep deprived, I'm like, because I'm reading this book and I'm just like, John.
Yeah, I know.
You're fucking yourself up,
exactly.
bro.
Exactly. And it's just like,
on top of the brisket, it's just.
Yeah, man, it's nuts, bro. This guy completely blew my mind, dude.
But that's good.
Insane,
you're taking interest in it, especially the attention aspect of it. Dude, it's like, all right, so you're gonna try and get more sleep now?
I'm gonna try to get more sleep, honestly.
I know this shit doesn't help because this stuff it has a shelf life in your body of about 8 hours. Like whether like dormant, whether you feel it or not, it's there. It's like they say you should stop consuming caffeine like before 12 noon. Like right at that mark, you need to stop. Oh, so the fact that it's 6 o'clock and we're drinking Red Bull is not good.
Yeah. Here's another thing for distraction, dude. A study found that 8 text messages per hour diminishes your ability to remember what you experienced by 30%.
Experience like in life?
Just whatever's in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I've contemplated that before. It's like how many of these moments that we're going through and how many conversations are just completely gone that I've forgot about.
Yeah.
Because of whatever. Like
bro,
it's just distractions.
8 text messages, bro. That's like.
That's not even. That's tip of the iceberg for most of these teenage girls out here.
Bro, that's
or
what I'm
anybody.
saying. Like fucking me in general. You know what I'm saying? But like just that small amount per hour diminishes your ability to remember what's in front of you, what you're experiencing in life by 30%.
Mm-hmm.
That's an insane number. And for me, I'm one of those people, in case you haven't noticed all the numbers I've thrown out during this podcast, to me, numbers mean something. You can't lie. Well, I'm sure you can lie about numbers, but the numbers don't lie. If you do your study and it comes up with a number, as much as you hate that number, it is what it is.
It's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? And so to me, giving these things that we've already known, that we just kind of put on the back burner, but you quantify it, I'm like, dude, it's actually kind of scary. And so this guy, Johan, was talking about, he's like, so I did this reflection. He said he was able to read a book like 8 hours straight uninterrupted. Just like, I had my focus back. I was feeling like I was young again. He goes, now I'm about 80%, we'll say backslid. He's like, I'm at 80%. I'm not where I was I'm not where I was before I started, but I'm not where I didn't go back to that full thing. I'm not as good as it could be, but 20% less of where he was at is better than nothing. And he's like, dude, I think he called it a K box. And it's literally like a little fucking box. Now, I don't know if I misunderstood him or he didn't specify.
I just imagine a lock with a timer on it that you put your phone in.
That's what it is. And I don't know if it automatically sets a random time for you or if it's like you can set.
Can you break the box if you need to? What if there's an emergency?
I'm assuming it's not a steel box, but it's meant basically you put your phone in there and you're going to be completely engaged in whatever activity it is that you're trying to remain focused on. And he's like, I wish I would have brought it into the studio because I take it with me everywhere. He's like, I think it's in his bag in his car or some of that. But
I love doing that in the sauna. Like, peeping how many people are on their phones. I always try to be the one, at least one that's not on his phone. I leave my shit outside. One, because I got a new phone. I don't want to fuck it up. But two, because I want to collect my thoughts. You know what I mean? This goes into meditating. But 9 out of 10 people in there, they're on their phones. They're just lost. Like, completely. Like, I could be jacking off right next to him and he wouldn't even know, bro. And you know what I'm saying? Just because he's so distracted on his phone. But it's crazy, like, the amount of people that you see just completely dead to the world because of their device.
Dude, and it was fun. I was talking to my mom about this yesterday, and she goes, man, it's crazy.
I'll cut out jacking off.
She goes, you know what's funny? She goes, when I'm in the car with your sisters, it's completely silent other than the radio. She's like, they're just stuck on their phone. She goes, when I was growing up, that was one of the places beside the dinner table where you spoke to your family. And I would like to get back to that, man. I want to try to put my phone down. I want to try to limit my distractions. I know, at least for me, my phone is pretty much, it's part of my body now. I'm a cyborg, as Elon Musk puts it.
Dude, the other day, when you were showing me something on your phone, you let me hold the phone, and then you were looking for something. I was like, what are you looking for? He's like, oh, you have my phone. You were looking for your phone.
Yeah. And one thing that's funny, during this podcast I was watching, the guy that owns the podcast, his phone went off. And he's like, looks at it, he's like, oh, look, we're talking about distraction, Honestly, and then what's funny, he touched his phone. He goes, I'm sorry for touching your phone. He goes, isn't it weird how touching somebody else's phone is kind of like touching
your pee-pee now. Yeah.
It's weird.
Intrusive.
Yeah. He goes, isn't that weird? And I was like, it is weird, dude. Like,
Elon's right, bro. It's cyborg.
Yeah. And so I want to try to, for my personal being, try to limit it as much as I can, man, because I think once your mind goes, dude, that's who you are. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to lose who I am, and maybe I'm going too extreme with losing myself, but
you're right, because
I want to maximize my efficiency.
If you don't start getting this stuff in order now, you're just heightening your chances of developing some type of mental decline, cognitive decline. Like, it's facts, like you said. There's written data saying that if you don't do this and that to take care of your brain and keep provoking your brain to learn, if you stop learning, you're going to decline. You're not going to be sharp anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You may not be an idiot, but I mean, I've showed you the brain scans of a
crazy.
30-year-old lady versus a 90-year-old lady. One took care of herself, one didn't. So many indentations, meaning that there's no activity in that part of the brain, versus it was perfectly smooth on the 90-year-old lady that practiced the nutraceuticals, taking her vitamins, kept learning, had healthy connections with people around them, got healthy sleep, ate the right foods, practiced blood circulation. You know what I'm saying? Just everything that revolved around a healthy mind and a healthy lifestyle directly affected her life and is correlated to her cognitive function.
That's what he mentioned about with kids, bro. He was like, kids are stuck indoors. They don't go outside anymore. He's like, and what's one thing I'm sure Dr.
Vitamin D.
But Dr. Almond, I know you mentioned this, that with that one dude that had like, I forgot this particular story. It was one guy particularly mentioned. I think he had like, they gave him a bunch of drugs, nothing worked. He went to Almond and they're like, hey, just change his diet, exercised.
Oh, yeah.
So there's
he had schizophrenia or something.
There's no shortage of data that suggests exercise is great for brain health.
Yeah.
Kids don't go outside anymore.
Dude, they say as little as 20 minutes a day. That's nothing.
Yeah. And it's crazy because he's like, kids don't go outside no more.
Yeah.
They're in their room playing Fortnite.
Which is completely unhealthy, and it's probably increasing the numbers of obesity, right?
And that's another thing that he mentioned.
Which is the number one cause of mental health issues.
There you go.
Not number one, but it's a huge
yeah.
contributing factor to the beginning of that.
And I mean, again, bro, you don't drive down the street. You don't see kids playing outside anymore. Go through any city block and you'll probably see 1 or 2 kids.
Dude, yeah, it's crazy. Like you don't see kids riding their bikes and like if we were in the 90s right now, you would hear kids screaming.
Yeah,
and
I was
yelling.
one of those idiots running around scraping my elbows.
I loved it, man. Yeah.
Like, and this guy, he was born in 79. He goes, I think we're one of the last remaining generations that actually got to go out there and do that. And I was like, well, I was born in 90 and I did that too, but I see your point.
Run around, hop fences, get dirty.
Yeah, he's like, kids need to develop that bond, that healthy bond and healthy relationships that you stated that 90-year-old had developed in her life that led to her brain or at least her keeping the majority of her cognitive ability. And she's 90, bro. Like, you think of 90-year-olds, we think of slow, senile people.
That's the stereotype of
that's what I'm saying.
Elder person.
And then he also went into like the food that we're eating today is completely different than that of our grandparents.
Yeah.
And like they did a study with, they gave kids water.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
And then the other part of water was just food dyes.
Uh-huh.
And I forgot what the percentage was, but there was a massive discrepancy in the kids' cognitive ability from water versus water with food dyes. And he's like, oh, it's the stuff they put like M&Ms and Skittles and stuff like that. Like things we don't think much about, but it does have a very
cognitive effect,
a real world cognitive effect.
Based on their decision of which one they're going to grab. I mean, food is a drug. 100%. Like, I've been addicted to the shit and I still am. Like, I have a problem with putting down things that taste really good, like snacks, processed foods and stuff like that. Like, it's hard to get over. That shit is like a drug, bro. You fiend for it. You know what I'm saying? And like, if you don't have the discipline to consume water, that's really unhealthy.
Yeah, man. And again, it's just like it's all stuff that we know, but it's for some reason it's not like you said. You see news commercials for processed foods, McDonald's that you mentioned. You don't see, besides the people trying to promote their meal plans.
Yeah,
you don't see anything. Hey, go outside, turn the TV off, run outside for 20 minutes. Go eat a fucking apple.
That was another thing that Joe always preaches, or he always talks about, is like, they're always pushing the vaccines, but they don't say anything about getting yourself healthy.
Yeah.
That's the biggest vaccine.
It all plays a role, man. And the fact that it's not being discussed widely is concerning. And so I tell you guys that, just take care of yourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, you only got one shot as far as we know at this life. And
as far as we know.
And may as well try to freaking make the best of it that you can. And if it comes with little decisions like, hey, drink some more water.
Well, here's my shit, dude.
Foods. Put your phone down a little bit more. Spend time with your family. Spend time with your friends. Go outside. I mean, these are all things that are super easy to do.
Here's my thing, dude. I'm going to be here regardless, whether I like it or not. So I might as well try and get the most joy out of it and feel the best that I could possibly feel while I'm on this ride. You know what I mean? I want to be able to perform optimally and see what I'm really capable of. You know what I mean? Mentally, physically, and all that. Because you'll shock yourself when you start pushing yourself mentally and physically, what you're actually capable of learning and actually doing physically. You know what I mean? Like, I never thought I'd be able to do a Rubik's Cube, bro. I had a 0.4 in high school. You know what I'm saying? Like, that just doesn't make sense on paper. You know what I'm saying?
I think I had the same at one point too.
If you were to put on paper, and they ran an experiment saying, here's a kid with a 3.4 GPA. Here's a kid with a 0.4 GPA. We're going to put them in a room, put 2 Rubik's Cubes in front of them. Which one would you put your money on? That's going to be able to... Which one would you put your money on?
Yeah.
It's just...
3.4 guy.
But anything is possible if you try. You know, you just have to put forth the effort into learning something. That's what I'm saying. Like, you'll be really surprised if you just push yourself and actually give learning a chance. Like, there's switches that just go off. Like, it's like you're not stuck with the brain or the body that you were born with. Like, it's pretty crazy.
I agree, man. And that's why I'm continuously trying to learn more and, you know, stretch those learning legs.
Yeah. 100%, dude. I'm all for that. Like, I think learning is just something that you should always strive to do.
We need people other than us to say that. We need that coming from, because the more I think about it, the older I get, I sincerely hate how being smart in school is frowned upon among peers.
Yeah, we really have to change that stigma.
It's terrible, dude. It's like
I think it's slowly changing though.
Man, maybe maybe you're right. I just feel it's not enough. Like
you shouldn't get bullied for being smart,
You're
bro.
a nerd. And it's like, dude, no, he's gonna be your boss one day. Like, you should take a page out of that guy's book. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know who started it.
I'm assuming it's people that just
insecure, bullies.
Like Misery Loves Company.
Yeah,
I think it's something like that. Like they're not excelling as well as they'd like, and so they're gonna try to demean the person that is.
Nobody gave you shit though in high school, right, for being smart?
Yeah, but again, my grades were like yours. They didn't suggest that I was smart. You know, I got my high school career together in like a year and a half, and that's because I got to school at 8 o'clock, and I was there till 6:30, 7 o'clock with adult program.
But you feel for kids who
yeah, for kids that were truly, you know, busting their ass in school and trying to make, you know, set themselves up for future success, the delayed gratification aspect. Yeah, man, and I think we need to do a better job as a culture to highlight that and make those people more prevalent. Like,
yeah, we definitely need to reverse that stereotype.
Like, you know, I'm sure you were dealing with the things that you were dealing with in high school, and I'm sure if we were to recognize those sooner, you know, because dude, I can tell you're one of the smartest people I speak to. You know, and I'm not basing that off of your scholastic career. You know, it's based off speaking with you. You continuously want to learn. We usually have, I mean, aside from this, like, but that's why you said you were so excited about me wanting to do this with you, because we do have dynamic conversation outside of this when we're with the guys partying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
that's why I said we had been doing this.
So it's like, I've recognized that about you from a long, long time ago. And if we could have found a way to help you recognize that earlier on in life, who's to say where you could be now? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to say you're doing shitty. I'm just saying, like, the possibilities are endless.
But for the kids who are there now, it's like we should do something to make sure that they recognize it in themselves. That way it's like, oh shit, it is cool to be. Yeah, it's actually way more beneficial to be the way I am, and fuck whoever the cool kids are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you're only cool for so long, dude. Once high school's over, like, that's it.
Don't be Uncle Rico, bro.
Yeah, living in the past. You know what I'm saying? Like, go out there and do something, man.
Yeah, fuck Uncle Rico, man. Be Napoleon. Be Kip.
That movie's ridiculous.
Rex Kwon-Do.
Think I got to be where I am in life, just like Peter Pan over here.
Forget about it.
I still think to this day, bro, one of those scenes I laughed at the hardest at end of any movie I've ever watched was when they're trying to sell Tupperware, and Kip puts it underneath the wheel of the van, and then he runs it over, and he's like surprised that it shattered, and then just dang it, and just drives off.
Dang it!
And he just drives off. Like, bro, I don't know why, dude. I was like laughing like you did that one podcast where we sat here and you were just in tears.
Yeah,
like. That was probably one of the most memorable parts of me laughing during the movie, was just that part. I don't know why. I was like, dude, what the hell were you thinking was going to happen with a 2-ton van running over a plastic bowl?
Bro, my aunt calls me Tot because of that movie.
Tot?
Tot. Yeah, because...
Tots?
Yeah, are you going to eat your tots? Well, because I was all depressed and shit all the time. So it's like, you know, Napoleon's always pissed off. Like, that was me, dude. So she just started calling me Tot. Yeah, classic movie, though. Oh, well, fuck, man. We're an hour and a half in.
Oh, shit. All right.
Like, honestly, like, I prefer going longer on these, but it's just the editing process with my stupid-ass computer is the only reason I don't, like, prolong them. So I try to keep them to an hour. And then, like we said, attention these days is very limited. So who's gonna dedicate an hour and a half of their lives to focus on us? But it's like, for me, how I watch podcasts is I consume them is bits and pieces at a time.
Yeah, that's the same.
Normally,
and
like,
usually
I'll
when
just
I'm driving.
Yeah, me too. But
I always go back and pick up where I left off. So.
Anyway, I hope you guys appreciate the content that we're putting out here. I enjoy doing it. I know he enjoys doing it, as we just mentioned. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap this episode up. If you guys got any value out of that conversation that we just had, please drop a like, a comment. We really want to know what your guys' thoughts are. We appreciate all the viewers that we get and all the subs and everything. But with that said, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the PO3 Podcast. My name is Marx.
Brownsville YETI, y'all.
We'll catch you guys on the next one.